Hello. Today we will be learning about the basic principles of growth and development. There are 7 general principles of growth and development, and we will tackle them one by one. The first one is development follows an orderly sequence which is predictable. This first basic principle relates to the orderly sequence of developmental change. This developmental process, guided by interaction of maturation and learning, follows a predictable pattern. And it is a continuous process that proceeds according to a definite uniform pattern throughout the life cycle. So, irregardless of culture, irregardless of religion, everybody will have the same pattern of growth or development. Okay, this is very observable in phylogenetic skills, which are universally true of the human race. So, like babies, they start from supported sitting to unsupported sitting, and then they creep, then they crawl before they are able to stand up. When language skills are developed, they start cooing and then babbling before understandable words are said. So there are two predictable directions that can be seen during the infancy periods. So the first one is a cephalocaudal development, which proceeds in a head to foot direction of the body, and proximodistal from the center to the outermost parts. Okay, so like for the infants, an example for proximodistal is the infants are able to use their arms first, which is close to the center, our arms first before they are able to use their fingers. The second principle is the rate of development is unique to each individual. So, although developmental changes follow a predictable pattern, just like what we discussed in the previous principle, the rate at which it occurs is different from one person to the other. And such differences in rate are determined by the interaction of heredity and environment. So, for example, if a child is exposed to such wonderful social environment, then his social interactions develop faster than those who are not. At the same time, some children may be, exposed to more mental development than others who are not. So the rates are different for each individual. Okay, but we have to always remember that we cannot force to accelerate the development of the children. So, for example, in preschool, one child is already learning how to write, but the other is having a hard time. We cannot force that because the rate of development is different, and it also depended on how the child was exposed early on. Maybe the child who was able to learn to write faster, was already taught beforehand before going to school. Okay, so again, the rate of the development is unique to each individual. Whether they're twins or triplets, they are still, the rate can still be different. The third principle is development involves change. Remember, the only permanent thing in life is change. There's always change. So, as stated earlier, children undergo physical, emotional, and mental changes. So, physical, from he grows taller or he grows, wider. The hair, some babies were born with no hair, but then as they grow, it also grows. So emotional changes, as the child learns to accept and be aware of his emotions, there are changes. He is able to control his anger. The child, as he matures, the child already is able to know happy thoughts. To laugh at certain appropriate times, and that's why we need to teach them they're tactful, and all that stuff. And mental changes, the way we think, the way we analyze, intuition and insights those things change. A child maybe, they think of simple things. They have simple joys, and then as you grow, you are exposed to so many things already, and your mental capacity is also changing, and it's also getting, it's developing. Okay. The fourth principle is early development is more critical than later development. So we will learn later on that the studies of Freud, Erikson, and Piaget on early patterns of behavior led to the conclusion that early development is very important. So the first 2 years are the formative years, and those are the very important years wherein, we teach the child, or we train the child in those years. We expose them to many things, good things, that will, mold their characters. Okay, so this is also the principle that is, founded by the early childhood education, that the formative years are the important years of the child. Okay, the fifth principle is development is a product of maturation and learning. Have you noticed that we have always talked about environmental factors, heredity factors? Okay, so this one, it's an interplay of both. No, it's nature and nurture. It's not nature versus nurture. It's both in this principle of development. Okay, people are, there are people who are genetically endowed with gifts. Like there are some who are prodigies in music. There are some who are very good in math, So, and there are some who are very good, they have a good singing voice. So if the environment, has given opportunities to develop those traits, those gifts, then development is very fast, and the child's skill will be able to mature fast. Okay, so through exercise and effort, people can act on their environments and develop their competencies. And in most cases, individuals learn through imitation and observation of role models. So the children, the role models are the adults. They, remember that saying we have in our country, sa mata ng bata, ang mali ay nagiging tama. Or we say, in the eyes of the child, the wrong is now right. Because the adults are the role models. So as role models, as the adult, we have to be very careful in how we behave, how we act in front of the children, how we, our speech is very important. That's why, there's this family, they raise their child, and, the child knows what are the bad words. So when a movie, they're watching a movie and then this bad word comes and she said, oops, cover your ears. So, the children learn through the imitation and observation of adults. So, there's some children that when they go to school, they pretend play at home, and then their play, sometimes the teacher can see what's happening in the house by the way the children play. So, that's it. Okay, the sixth principle of development is there are individual differences in development. Because we have mentioned that in the first principle, there is a predictable pattern of development. There's a step-by-step progression. All these children, also in number 2, that the rate of development is different for each child. And all these differences in development are often ascribed to both genetic and environmental influences, where each individual is either born or exposed to varying factors. So, like for example, for physical, if the parents have blue eyes, naturally, the children will have blue eyes, but also we can see individual differences in the siblings. They have different personality traits. We can also have this example that, twins, they may be identical twins, but they have different personalities. They have different likes. They have different dislikes. And there is also this, intellectual growth is contingent upon one's educational exposure or the family environment. If one is exposed to the parents are value education, so they really make the child study and loves going to school. So his point of view on education is different from one whose family prioritizes work first. So individual differences. And the last but not the least is there are social expectations for every developmental period, which are often referred to as developmental tasks. So, this principle clearly states that at any point in the individual's development, each one is expected to fill certain social expectations. So, we will be learning more about these in detail as we go on with our semester, with our term. Okay, so like for children, developmental tasks may be in the form of making friends at a certain age. You should be able to already make friends maybe at age 5, or they are now able to learn how to socialize. Okay, as adults at a certain age, they should already know how to be independent, autonomy. And they should be able already to learn how to uh, control their emotions, or they have stabilized their emotions already. They're mature enough. You cannot imagine a 25-year-old throwing tantrums, right? So yeah, so those are developmental tasks, and these are part of growth and development, and that's it. So I hope you are able to learn and okay. And that ends our lesson on principles of growth and development. I hope you learned so many things today. I hope you are able to learn more about growth and development of children, and you will see the children in a different set of eyes this time.